Guys, do you want to introduce yourself? Nikita, Satvik?
Yes.
Awesome. So probably I'll just start off. So I'm Akash. I'm from BITS Hyderabad, 2017 batch. And yeah, so George and I, we were thinking about how we can introduce more and more founders from BITS. It's just that there are a lot of founders. We just don't hear about them. So this was just an initiative for us to, get the word out, inspire a lot more founders. So it's going to be a chill session, right? That's all there is to it. There's no agenda. There's no pointed questions. We just share thoughts candidly. So that's about me. Nikita, feel free to go next. You're on mute, by the way.
Hello. Yeah. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just switching from mobile to laptop. Wanted to switch on camera. Hi everyone on the call. Thanks for arranging for this. Introduction about me: 2017 Goa, and worked across consulting and policy before as a chief of staff. And last 1 year, I've been very active in the enterprise space and startup space. Um, I was part of a founding team of a startup which was exploring enterprise AI adoption, I would say. So, working on 3 domains: one is enterprise AI adoption, one is AI training, and the third is physical intelligence, which is training of the robot models that are there. So, vision, language, action models, basically. So, yeah, I've been working in the space, and I just happened to see the message at dot 2:30 that Aditya, who is into this, I think he's working on the enterprise AI adoption in the ERP space. So I thought, oh wow, let's just connect. Thank you so much, Aditya, for taking the time to connect, and everyone here who has joined. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikita. George, if you're good to go. So Aditya, the general audience is small. The entire idea is that we want to post it online, right? And we basically we'll have a repository of all the talks by Vitsian founders. That's the whole goal. So folks will keep joining in and out. So don't worry about that. We'll try to keep it interactive with whoever joins in. For example, Nikita, Satvik, all of these guys. Yeah, we can.
Wait, is this going to be on social media, or is it just like an internal forum?
Internal forum, as in, see, the thing is, you can switch off your cameras. It's absolutely fine.
Got it. Yeah.
Don't worry about it. There's no pressure. This is the whole idea here is that we just wanted to learn from existing founders. That's all there is to it, Nikita.
Got it. Thanks, Akash. And you are organizing it. George and Akash, you both are
mainly George. He's the one responsible. He's the one who actually spoke to Aditya, brought him on board. So thanks for this, George. I'm merely doing this part of this organization, right? But he's the one who's mainly responsible for talking to everyone other than Aditya as well and bringing them on board. So thanks, George.
That's a great.
Yeah, awesome. So
George also a Bitsin? George is also a Bitsin?
Yeah. George, would it be possible for us to record this on your side? So he has a screen recording right now.
I was not prepared for it, but okay.
No, so the thing is that these are all personal accounts, right? So none of these are paid accounts. So yeah, he has one on that side. Okay, let's get started. Aditya, now coming to your introduction, right? I know about you. George knows about you. Nikita's done a fair research, but can we hear more about you from your own words and also about Dodge.ai, right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for first of all having me on this. I'll quickly introduce myself and Dodge.ai as well. So, hey, I'm Aditya. I graduated from BITS Pilani campus in 2025 with a degree in computer science. Currently, I'm the co-founder and CTO at Dodge.ai. If I were to explain in very simple terms what we do at Dodge.ai, the easiest way would be to imagine large companies that run on ancient softwares, right? And they often need a lot of consultants, IT consultants, to just keep those softwares running. Now, if you replace those large companies with Fortune 500s of the world and the ancient softwares with softwares such as SAP or Oracle, for example, you basically get what we essentially do at Dodge, right? So we use AI agents to replace a lot of those mundane work. you can think of it as figuring out what's broken. Because let's imagine at the scale of Apple, right, where they have uh, vendors coming in, coming out every single day. Their manufacturing processes keep changing, and a lot of different things, right? We essentially help them pinpoint uh, what are the things that's broken in your system. We go and fix them as well. We help them answer questions, like let's say someone has a question, right? Maybe it's a new joinee or maybe it's someone old. They can ask the platform to uh, help understand their system, and we also help them spot issues before they become like large problems, right? So that's something we do. Right now, a lot of these things do have a human in the loop as of now, but the idea is that in the near future, we want to essentially help companies self-run themselves, right? So initially, we'll first automate the IT consultant's job. Uh, After we are done with that, and once we have the knowledge of how the company essentially works, we can then go ahead and automate the side of the jobs as well. But yeah, that's a very brief introduction about me and Dodge.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Aditya. Aditya, can you probably go into a little more detail? One problem that you actually like, you don't have to name the customer or anything. I see a lot of names on your site,
Yeah.
obviously.
Obviously. So probably enterprise resource planners, which essentially help them manage all their business operational processes, right? So everything from procurement, warehousing, distribution, sales, finance, everything is handled in this big software called as ERP. I think probably in BITS also we had an ERP where we used to manage courses, CR grades, and everything, right? But you can imagine that at the scale of Apple, it's like very, very large, right? Now,
Right.
let's say a business user whose entire job is to go on these ERPs and fill data, right? Because end of the day, it's a database, right? It's a system of record where you store data, right? So if he's facing some problem, what he essentially does is he raises a ticket, right? So these could be your ITSM softwares like ServiceNow, for example, right? And once you raise those tickets, you also have partners. So Accenture could be one, TCS could be one, Infosys could be one. So usually, since the let's take for Apple as an example, right? Their core job is to make like hardware, for example, right? They wouldn't want to get into the uh, trouble of like maintaining all these things. So they'll just outsource it to companies who traditionally have been better at doing these things, right? So again, these will go to these companies and they have consultants in house, right? Like for example, Accenture, right? They'll take up the ticket and then they'll solve it. Now, the primary issue in this industry is one, uh, like the largest market is the US market, right? Most of the large companies are US based, right? Fortune 500s of the world. Uh, Most of the work is usually like back office to India of sorts, like it's offshore, right? So they'll take the work, they'll charge them like $50 or $70 an hour. But in India, you can hire someone for like $5-10 an hour, right? So that's the arbitrage that they are playing with. Other thing that is very eminent is obviously, let's take TCS for example, right? They'll probably go and hire from tier 3, tier 4 colleges of India, right? They mass hire people and then they put them to the job, right? They'll probably do 1 or 2 years of training, right? So these are also not the smartest people in the industry as well. So that's where we essentially saw a gap, right? Like one, a lot of things are already being offshored, right? Second, the people who are working are not very smart, right? So if I think there was a very famous quote that said, like India's IT exports are just GPT-4 tokens now because I mean, it's as intelligent as them, right? So uh, that's where we saw the gap. The last gap is basically like let's say why wouldn't companies like Accenture, KPMG would not do it themselves? So their business model is sort of contradictory to this. So they charge on a time and material basis, which is basically if they work for 10 hours, they get paid for 10 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll probably not want to reduce their own revenue, right? But yeah.
Got it. So that's the main part of it. But how did you guys realize that? Okay, fine. I mean, this is the industry that we want to go after. Like, have you guys worked? Has one of you kind of worked in?
No, no. So actually, before this, I had another startup called Interface, where we were essentially were sort of a middleman between marketplaces and brands. If you think D2C brands like Mokobara, for example, and marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, Zepto, for example, right? We
Okay.
used to be a middleman between them, and we used to help them resolve disputes, which is basically, let's say you ran a buy one get one promotion, right? But that has not been like sent to you on your invoice, right? You're basically losing money of sorts, right? So we
Okay.
used to help resolve all these disputes, and we essentially started growing big in India. We started having larger enterprise customers, right? And they started saying that please integrate with our ERPs, right? So which is SAP, for example.
Right.
Whereas smaller brands usually use Excel or Tally, for example, right? So once we started growing bigger, we realized that okay, integrating with these softwares is very very hard, and that's when we realized that okay, ERP in itself is a very huge market, right? Like companies have trouble just integrating SAP. Imagine what what would be the scale of issues that they would be facing if they are actually using it as their backbone. But yeah.
Understood. Awesome, man. I think that's good. That's good context. You guys actually made a lot of money even with interface, right? And you still decided to shut it down. Uh, yeah.
Uh, I mean, it was venture backed, so in those terms, not a lot of money, but we almost had all the big brands in India. So if you think of Mokobara, for example, Plum, for example, right? All
Mhm.
these B2C brands that were in India, we were essentially their dispute resolver with Amazon, Flipkart, for example, right?
Right.
After the point, but we did realize that this could not become a very big business. Like the issue there was once you start resolving all these disputes, right? The disputes portion will start shrinking, right? And we used to charge on a commission basis, saying that let's say if I saved you 100 rupees, we'll take 10% of that because we
Mhm.
saved it for you, right? It was more outcome based. So we realized that the pie was shrinking, and we at that point could not figure out a way to like sort of uh, sell upstream, right? So dispute is the last step of the entire process,
Right.
where basically it's the payout cycle, right? We could not figure out how to go upstream from there, so we decided to just shut it down and chase this idea, which is much larger opportunity in our heights at least.
Got it. Got it. No, man, that makes a lot of sense, right? I want to come back to Dodge. Now, before that, just want to understand your entire grooming at BITS. Uh, how did that kind of did that give you any sort of kind of support to actually build interface as well as Dodge? Just want to know from that perspective as well.
Right. So I think BITS actually shaped a lot of these things. I mean, not in the academic senses. I did not actually go to any of the classes, but I'll tell you the four phases. I think in my freshman year, I did join these technical clubs called ACM, DVM, for example. These were uh, at least at that point considered one of the best. So I had good seniors who had mentored me in tech. So that's how I entered the tech industry. Uh, I also, so there were two other friends with whom we just decided to start a dev shop, right? So in the first year, I think it was COVID, right? So we were just all sitting at home, and we just thought that okay, might as well make use of the time that we have, right? So two other friends joined hands, and we started doing like website projects, SaaS projects, like anything that we could get as a freshman, right? We
Right.
did a bunch of those, and then we realized okay, this won't scale. The best it would become is an agency, right? So
Mhm.
we shut that down. Then the crypto boom happened, like if you remember in 2021,
Yeah.
2022, right? So got into that space, met a lot of folks. So if you know Tanmay Bhatt, I've met him actually. I was part of this thing called Solana Super Team, right? So
Right.
I did a bunch of projects there as well. Won some grants as well. So that was the introduction to the Web3 space. But the big break that I got actually in the startup space was uh, there was this a group of folks from CoinSwitch, which is a unicorn in India,
Yeah.
leaving to start their own company, again in the Web3 space itself.
Okay.
And they were looking for someone who could join them.
All right.
And one of my friends had interned at CoinSwitch as a summer intern. So he
Okay.
recommended me. So somehow it basically happened that I joined them as the first founding member, right? And this was back when they hadn't even given their notice periods in CoinSwitch. So
Right. Right.
basically, I saw the entire journey from being an idea stage company, then they raised the seed round, and then we started scaling as well. So I basically saw that entire journey. That gave me quite a lot of insights on how to actually navigate the 0 to 1 journey, right?
Right.
Actually, -1 to 0 as well. But yeah, so I spent, I think, around 1 year there. So I had quite a good grasp of how things work at the early stage. That was one. That was in my second year. Third year, I went on to join this company called Jar. which is a Series B fintech. Uh, there, interestingly, the founder wanted someone young to lead the new vertical, right? So while still being in third year, I became the head of vertical of that unit. Basically, helped them set that up from scratch, right? So uh, I set that up. I think it took me around 4 months. I left afterwards because the AI opportunity was bigger for me. But that vertical now does I think around 1,000 crores a year in sales. So that was a good moment. So that was in the scale part of things that I saw, because Jar already had around 15 million users. The main issue that they were facing was, how do we monetize these users into this new vertical, right? So that was a different kind of problem that I essentially solved there. And then I just went into the AI world because I saw this opportunity, like ChatGPT, Cursor, and a lot of things had come up. I just decided that, okay, D2C is not something that I want to do. AI seems much more interesting, right? So started that. Uh, started researching a bit. One thing that was very interesting to me at that point was, how do I build my own Jarvis of sorts, right? Uh, for that, you basically need to control your computer or a browser, right? So I just started researching on like myself on those domains. Started in January 2024, I think. Somehow like mailed a lot of colleges, universities, right? Asking for a research internship or something, right? There was this institute called Mila Quebec. I think it's founded by N2NG and a bunch of OpenAI mafia folks.
Okay.
They said that, okay, this seems interesting. Why don't you come help us, right? And they actually needed some developer help as well, because they were pure researchers, right? Not write a lot of technical code. And when you are building browser agents that can sort of navigate themselves, right?
Yeah.
You need a lot of infrastructure that's required for that. So
Right.
basically, joined them as a research assistant there, worked there for like 3 months. So that was in Montreal, Canada. Uh, that gave me quite a lot of insights on the research side of things, like how does AI research happen these days, right? And after that, I was just like, okay, I've spent a lot of time in very early stage startups, Series B startups. I've done some research stints as well. Now is the right time to like go and build something of my own, because that was always my aim. So that's how things happened. And then Ribhav, I think I met him during JAR. So he used to work at Antler as an investment analyst then.
Okay.
We just met one random day. Like it was, I never knew him in college, even though we are from the same college, right?
Okay.
We just met in Bangalore while we were both skipping colleges, working in companies. We just decided to meet, and that's how like I got to know Ribhav. And one day I just shot him a text saying that, do you want to start something together? And that's how everything has been since then.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. When you started off telling that, I didn't really attend a lot of classes in college. I didn't expect that throughout the space we're actually working for different companies. Now it's like I feel that I did absolutely nothing in college. So thanks for this, man. But yeah, this is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I just wanted to come to Dodge's, you know, the amount of faith that investors have in Dodge as well. Just wanted to understand the reception right from their side. And I also want to understand the larger goal for you. I know what you're starting off with. You explained that. Just wanted to understand the vision as well, right? Overall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so recently, I think, I mean, we raised very recently a $2.7 million pre-seed round. So that was led by Accel and Google. So Google has this new venture arm called Google's AI Future Fund, which is by Google Labs. So Accel, Google, and a bunch of other US-based investors have basically made up this pre-seed round. Uh, to be honest, I would say it is one of the biggest opportunities after the web or the mobile era. Why I'm saying that is because if you look at the SaaS market, right, the services market is 10x more than that. Because traditionally, if you have looked at how companies work, is basically they'll buy a software, let's say Salesforce, for example, right, for let's say 100 rupees, they'll employ 10 more people who work on that software, right?
Correct.
So that would be another 900 or 1,000 rupees, right? Now the opportunity is that you can make AI do the work as well, right? So you're basically not just like targeting the budgets just for software, you are also targeting the budgets for human capital as well, right? So it is probably the next biggest opportunity. Not, I'm just talking about broadly about services, but we have actually picked a niche which is very focused towards ERP or system of records, for example, right?
Okay.
So if you look at any system of record today, right? So let's take Salesforce or SAP, for example. It's like $350 billion market cap as of now, right?
Got it.
Uh, uh, and if you actually look at what they essentially do, it's just a database, right? It's a glorified database. In the world of AI, it's just a glorified database where you just have to retrieve and put information in. Now, what we are essentially building towards is a world where uh, these system of records itself sort of improve, right? So I'll give you an example. We have this concept called as context graph, which is basically any action that you are doing, the reasoning as well is captured because AI is in the output path, right? So all the reasonings are captured, right? Now, if you overlay these traces in a context graph over, like, let's say 5 years of time, right? We'll probably have the most amount of context about how a company runs than the company itself, right? So I can go to the CXO board and just say that, okay, I know your company much better than you do, right? And that's the essential goal that we are building towards, because end of the day, if you know how a company runs, right, you like the value there is a lot more than anything else, right? And
Right.
after that, there's a bunch of different parts you can go, but even just that bit is worth a lot.
Got it. Got it. This is pretty cool, man. This is pretty awesome. So I think we have like a bunch of folks who've joined in. We've set enough context to understand more about Aditya, Dodge, and their investors as well. I'm going to take a pause here, guys. If you have any questions, the stage is open. Just feel free to unmute and ask. Right, you're good to go. If you feel that you don't want to ask questions on the mic, just put them on chat as well. Even that works. Whatever works best for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we regularly face, I mean, it's not an issue anymore, but when we started, we faced a lot of these issues. But the clear way to navigate that is just have compliances, right? So there are companies like Vanta or Sprinto, which help with SOC 1, SOC 2 compliances, GDPR compliances. That is one. Second is you can have pen test reports for your platform itself, right? So these are two, three things. Apart from that, let's say a very big Fortune 500, for example, uh, essentially asks you saying that our data shouldn't leave our like servers of sorts, right? Then you can offer them a VPC deployment of sorts. So there are ways to navigate this. Initially, we had faced some of these issues, but now they are very playbook of sorts. Uh, I mean, there's no exact playbook to be honest. What I'll tell for sure is you just need to have a lot of clarity on what you're building, how you're going to get to the next stage, and you should have some proof, right? Like some proof saying that, okay, I've done this with, like, let's say 2 or 4 customers. These are the uh, worth of the contracts that they are giving me, and this is how I will navigate if you give me the investment of sorts, right? So clarity, I think, is paramount. You should have absolute clarity on what you're going to do as a company, right? Like, and end of the day, startups take like around 5-10 years to build, right? You should have the exact clarity on what you'll do 5 to 10 years. But obviously, there are times when things don't work out. So end of the day, investors also understand that, okay, maybe this is one of the experiments that they are running. You should have 1 or 2 more experiments that you can show, saying that, okay, if this does not work, I can try this as well. But I would say if you have clarity on one single idea, that would be best.
And Aditya, also like the funding in itself, right? What was your main goal with the funding once you've achieved it? Just wanted to know, right? Was it to grow? Was it to grow the team? What exactly was your thought?
So for us, the main reason for raising a round was to move to San Francisco, right? So as of now, we are in the process to get our O1 visas. But if you think about it, most of the customers are based out of US, right? Again, as I shared, the offshoring model. So if we get customers in India, they'll still be worth pennies, right? Whereas you get customers in US, they are actually worth the actual dollar amount. So first was to get like be able to move to US, which wouldn't be possible on a smaller fundraise. Apart from that, uh, this is very enterprise B2B sales, right? So you need to have some tactics. So one of the things that we try to do is arrange dinner roundtables, right? And for that, for example, if you're hosting it for CIOs, for example, right, and you're hosting it in a five-star hotel, you'll have to pay a lot of money. Apart from that, then there are conferences where you take space, a booth of sorts, and then you basically showcase what you have built. That also costs around 50K. This is for a smaller conference. Larger conferences cost like 100K per, let's say, booth, right? And these are only 2 3 days, right? So a lot of strategic things that enterprise B2B sales mostly requires. Engineering side of things, I think not a lot. I mean, uh, I would say that engineering would be split between SF and Bangalore. That is mostly because in India, at least the technical talent is much cheaper than in SF. So if I am hiring a fresher in SF, I could have hired a senior engineer in India, right? So that is the plan as of now. But the entire sales GTM team would be based out of US.
Got it. That makes sense as well. We have one question for uh, Harshil. Do you want to go? Yeah, go for it.
Hi Aditya. So sorry, I joined a little late, so I missed
Uh,
the initial few sections.
Harshil, just to so sorry. I don't know if it's me, but your voice is very low.
Is it better now?
Much better.
Thanks.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
So I joined a little late, so I missed the initial context. But I looked online, and you mentioned that you sell enterprise solutions, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I had this doubt, like, as a startup, how do you get your first customer, and that too when it is a company? Like, you have to go for a business instead of a consumer. So, like, how do you get your first customers, or just roll out a product?
Uh, you're asking an enterprise B2B?
Yes. If you're building a solution for a company, how would you like maybe collaborate with them on building it, or if you build a product, but again when you deploy it, there are the issues that you might have to solve, but those are different on an industry level as well. So how do you get that first customer and get the requirements perfect,
Got
like
it.
after an action?
So I think there are 2 3 different ways of approaching this, right? So one is obviously you can make them a design partner of sorts, right? You find one customer, you basically pitch your idea saying that I have this solution, but I have not fully developed it. So I might want some of your resources or some of your time so that I can actually build this, and then probably I'll give it to you at a discount, right? So that is one way, right? The second way in which we approached essentially was, so this is a very known problem. Like large companies will usually face ERP issues. That's a very common problem, right? Because otherwise, TCS or Infosys shouldn't exist, right? So we were like, okay, we know how to solve the problem. Might as well go directly pitch it, right? The first few customers actually require some handholding in the senses that we actually flew out of their office a bunch of times. But once that brand trust is established, right, you don't need to do it very often. But initially, you'll have to like fly into their place. Ideally try to meet them in person because face-to-face meetings are much more valuable than online meetings. So that is one thing. That's how we essentially got our first customers.
Okay. And so, like from those customers itself, you got to know about the ground requirements, or you had a background from somewhere.
Yeah, so product discovery always keeps happening, right? Even right now, if you are working at Google, I'm pretty sure that they are also improving a lot of different things at the current time, right? So as you get more customers, you'll start getting more insights on, okay, probably I need to go slightly towards this direction instead of the one that I was taking. But end of the day, as long as you're still solving the core belief that you believe in, right? That should still be fine. So yeah, product iterations keep happening with customers. That's always constant.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Also, I think that is a really good question as well, Harshil. Aditya, just to follow up on Harshil's question, I guess you guys were in India, but your customer base is large customers based out of US. How did you manage to even reach them or catch? I mean, selling to them is one part, right? But they even heard about your yeah. How did that happen? How did they come to
So
know you?
So our first few customers, some of them were in India, some of them were in the US. So I think back in 2025, Riba, who is my co-founder, and I went on a 4 month long trip to like the US, right? And we essentially tried selling. to a bunch of folks, right? And one of them just said, that, okay, I might as well take the bet, right? So that is how the first few customers happened. But now it's more targeted in the senses that there's some strategies that you can look, right? So basically, let's say there's some venture-backed company, right? You would know that, okay, they would be open to trying new softwares versus someone who is very traditionally old, right? If you even if you pitch them AI, they wouldn't understand. So we have also this industry is slightly like behind the time, I would say. So a lot of people do not understand what AI can bring to the table. So that's why there are some strategies you have to figure out on which companies to actually pitch. But once you have some social proof, I think it becomes easier to sell to them. So the reason why we like got Google into the round was because everyone knows Google, right? People might not know Accel, even though Accel as a venture capital fund is like way ahead of Google, right? But we got Google because that gives us the name saying that, okay, I can walk into this door, say that Google is backing me. So you should have some belief in me at least.
Super, super. That's great. Thanks for that. I think Pramit has a question. He's posted on chat. If you want to come up and share the question as well, please feel free to unmute it. Otherwise, I can read it for you, whatever works best for you. Okay. I think I'll just read through it then.
Sure.
Okay, Pramit's like Pramit is a third year triple student. I wanted to ask, mic isn't connected. Or Aditya, do you want to just go through it?
Yeah, I actually went through it. So I'm not exactly sure on the electronic part of things because I'm not like experienced in that. But for software, what I can see is definitely, at least at the smaller stages of companies, right? The traditional way of developing things has completely changed, right? So in Dodge AI itself, we are trying more and more to add AI to any workflow that we do, right? So as to remove a lot of the overheads that come, right? Even in the software development lifecycle, we have so the reasoning part is still owned by humans because obviously you are talking to the customer, you know what they need best. But the building parts we have still offloaded to AI completely. There's ways and systems that we have architected in a way that the quality of code that we push and a lot of other things uh, still remain best and industry standard. But I'd definitely say that at least in this era, I'd say software development is going to change. It's not going to be eliminated. So like, it's not as if jobs will go away, but people who can harness AI much better will get better jobs instead of people who could previously do DSA the best. So that is something that I would say.
Also, if I may add here to this aspect, I think even in our startup, the way hiring is working for technical roles, people are looking more for deployment engineers, so to say, who can do backend or deployment of these AI ML technologies. So Kubernetes and all of those areas, I think, are seeing a very boom in the market. I think that could be a forward deployed engineer could be a right term for you to maybe search more about and see if those are the kind of profiles you would want to target, because something which lies at the intersection of technology and understanding customer solutions and stuff like that. So I would say solution architect to delivery, I think roles would be on those lines.
Yeah. To add one more point, I think so I have been recently trying to hire a lot of FDs, as Nikita said, right? Forward deployed
Yes.
engineers who interact with customers, basically help them meet the ends, right? Basically, we have a solution, but it might not 100% fit with the customer. It might fit 90%. The 10% gap that is there, forward deployed engineers help close that, right? Recent trend that I have noticed is a lot of people are not interested in this role. But I can say for sure that this will be the future of like software development, mostly because if AI is doing all of the work and customer facing stuff is the only thing that it cannot do, right? That's where you'll have to come in. And I would say probably you need to improve your speaking and interaction skills as well, not just software development. So I've met a lot of developers who are very good at writing code, right? But they cannot speak to someone for more than 5 or 10 minutes. So I think that skill should also be sharpened.
Yeah, and you might also want to look at, I'm not sure at what stage of your career you're in. You are just a graduate, I guess, from the message I'm third year student. Okay, probably there are a lot of courses and a lot of these 2-month boot camps happening for FD roles by YC and other such top VC funds, or these new fellowship programs that are coming in from Scalar or these programs. So I'm not advocating for it, but you might want to just look at the syllabus that they post on the website and just have a look at what all this role entails, so that it'll give you a fair idea.
Okay, I hope that helped from it. Also, for I think from the hardware perspective, we should get somebody as well. So that you have some perspective from there too, next time. Yeah, Harshil has a question again. Go for it, man.
Hi, Aditya. Just one more question. So, I'm from more towards technical side. So, let's say if someone like me wants to go into a startup or just raise funds and everything. So, how should a person like me go forward with what should be the equity splits and those kind of things, and how much to dilute that particular stage, or should because for me, I'm more interested towards hardware type of startups. So it will be a very capex intensive project. So how should I go forward with raising funds and dilution and everything?
Okay, I think if you just look at this playlist by YC called YC Startup School, they teach a lot of things related to like how do you start a startup, how do you navigate these things. Particularly for hardware, I think it would be best to reach out to founders who are already in hardware, right, and have raised funds, because I do not have an idea on like how does it work in hardware side of things. But I can for sure tell you that if you reach out to founders, actually good founders for sure usually reply and help you, right? So that is something that you can do. But for everything else, I would say just watch this playlist by YC Startup School. That is pretty good in my opinion.
Perfect. Also, just one more interesting question. If the company is in the early stage and which is recently raised around, so for let's say co-founders and maybe co-founders and those people, so do they take up salaries from that investments, or how does that work? Like, how do you set up your living? Like, how do you work with them?
It depends on the stage, right? Again, if you have raised a pre-seed, I think you should only take as much as it is required for you to like sort of survive, right? Because at the end of the day, you are anyway putting your entire effort into building your company, right? I mean, you can take uh, decent enough as well. It's not a necessity. At least good investors don't cap it, but there are some investors that will cap your salary, for example, right? So then you'll have to comply with that. Uh, but at the end of the day, I think it's your decision. Just don't take so much that the investor is
That
more worried about saying that, okay, why did I even invest in him if he's taking like 5 lakhs a month, for example, right? Just take enough so that you
obviously.
can survive and like, have peace of mind. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Aditya.
Um, Also, because there was discussion on YC as well. Aditya, what's the? I mean, not on YC specifically. It's more on SF versus India, right? What do you see as the biggest difference? You spoke about hiring and how it's more economically to hire from India, but I really wanted to understand more from your perspective. You've gone there and you've seen how it really works. What do you think is the major difference between how it works in India versus how it works in SF? What's the good part, bad part? What do you think?
Okay, a bunch of things. So first of all, I think all the founders who are working out of SF are extremely ambitious, right? So if you go talk to someone in India, probably the biggest they could think of. I'm just generalizing here, but it would be something like I'll build $1 billion company, a unicorn, for example, right? But if you go to like founders in SF, right, and you ask them how big do you think this can be, they'll say that okay, I'll just build it as big as a $1 trillion company, right? So ambition levels are like way off the charts there. People are just way more confident that okay, I'll be able to build this, and even no one challenges them, right? Like it's sort of like the crab drawing you down into the bucket again, sort of thing mentality in India, right? If you just say that okay, I'll build $1 trillion company, 5 people will just laugh at you saying that okay, that is just not possible. But in SF, if you just say this, other people will respect you and also help you with things like okay, let me just brainstorm how I can help you figure out this market, right? So a bunch of difference there. Apart from that, the risk capital there is as obviously much more than in India, because Uh, India, I think, is still in its early stages of venture capital. So obviously, if you just go there and if you are able to prove things, you can get capital much easily. But again, if you look at it, people will put you in a pecking order, which is basically Stanford folks will come first. Will not be the top there, right? In India, if you're a graduate from BITS Pilani, you're already the top 1% in India, right? There, it would not be the case. So you'll have to prove a lot more as compared to the other founders there, but it is still, I'd say, much better, much more founder friendly. You can just actually, if you can just go to some cafe, there'll always be founders working. So environment wise, I'd say it's much better. Uh, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Akshat, go for it.
Yeah, hi Aditya, hi Akash. I'm Akshat. I'm a fourth year student, and I'm currently working on an AI startup. I'm working from HSR only right now. I'm in a third wave of third I'm in a cafe working. So I wanted to ask after you build a MVP in AI SaaS. After whatever knowledge you have from your network, how did you actually go through the customer discovery process to actually find correct clients?
Okay. As I said, right? So there were two things. One, when we were working on interface, as I mentioned, we already had a good connection with a lot of the brands in India, right? So, and we had done good work for them. So they had actually recovered a lot of money. So we had good connections, good relationships with them. So we just reached out to them. A lot of the customers, the initial customers that we got were our previous customers, right? So that essentially helped. But what works best is if you already have a prototype or some sort of vision that you can show them, right? Basically, you can either make, now I think it's very easy with cloud code, you can just build a prototype. But if you can show them what you will bring to the table, I think it's a much easier sell than just trying to do discoveries with them. So even one of the Fortune 500 customers that we got, so we went in pitching something else, and then he basically walked us through, like, okay, this is how you can improve this. So that helped shape a lot of the product decisions for us, right? So usually just go with something, even if that does not work out. Usually the customer is open enough to help you navigate which is the right thing to solve for them, right? So that is, I think, how you do end of the day customer discoveries.
Okay, thanks a lot. But I have a more specific thing. I have built a very complicated product, and it has a lot of parts. And all I have built is with whatever I knew from my hypothesis and Claude, whatever I had information on internet. But when I talk to people, the conversation actually goes very general. How do I structure it out to actually map my products solutions to their problems?
Okay. I think it's a very specific to your domain question. I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer this, but see, at least what we do is we do a training session of sorts, like a 1 week training session on our platform itself, right? So any customer that we sign, we'll say that every week at, let's say, 5 p.m., for example, just bring in people that are going to use this software, right? And then we'll just try to see how they're using it, if we can help them improve their ways of using it, if things are like, let's say if he's not able to start a new chat, right? How do we help him discover that of sorts, right? So those training sessions is when you sort of uh, you know do product discoveries. But on the selling side of things, mostly uh, so in our case, the decision maker and the user would be the same, right? So the decision maker would be someone like a VP or the CIO, right? But end of the day, the IT team or the business users would be using our platform. So that is sort of a difference, I would say. In your case, it could be that the decision maker and the user would be the same person, right? So
I
it depends.
mean, I am actually only one person doing this. I don't have a team. I'm a fourth year student only. So I'm still navigating.
Person team is enough to, like, in the AI era, I think you can actually do enough. Uh, like I have some friends who are solo founders as well. They are able to do customer discovery, sales, product development, a bunch of different things, right? So you just need to manage your time much better, I would say. Just prioritize things that you think is more important for your startup. Let's say people are not able to understand what value your product is bringing. Try to figure out what is the main reason, right? Just go deep within the reason itself and figure out what is the main root cause of this, right? I think that would help you prioritize a lot of different things.
Okay. Also, would like, are you currently in India, Bangalore only?
Yeah, I am in Bangalore right now.
Like, I'm like also in HSR only, and I guess I'm like a few meters away from your office only. So, like, would you be up to meet and see my product and give some feedback?
Yeah, sure. We can probably, you can just ping me after this session and we can probably have a small session together as well. That's fine.
Thanks a lot, Aditya. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Aditya.
No worries, man. Thanks, Akshay. Just drop your product in the chat or in the WhatsApp group, right? Even that works. I think a lot of people would give you good feedback, roast your product, but at the end of the day, I think good things will happen. So, all the best, Akshay. Um, so, yeah, awesome.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So now, coming back at your Dodge itself, right? I know you spoke about the human in the loop today. You pick a particular customer, you clearly understand what are the problems that they face, and you essentially try to automate these out, right? I mean, at least the consulting part of it, you automate these out. Now, but you still spoke about it's not fully automated; it's human in the loop. I want to know your what do you think? Like, when do you think that the mid-level ERP consultants might be completely, kind of, moved using AI? What do you think? Replaced?
Yeah, so probably not in the next 3 to 5 years. So as I said, right, the context graph architecture helps us remove these middle consultants as well, right? Because end of the day, I'm capturing all the decisions into how this ERP was essentially shaped, right? And after that, I probably don't need them. But human in the loop, I think, will always exist because there are decisions that I think humans take in a much better way. So, for example, one of our customers was going through a restructuring of sorts, right? Their entire organization, they had mergers and acquisitions and a bunch of different things. So they were just restructuring their entire organizational structure, right? Now, if you do it with an AI, it does not know that, okay, in the US, let's say, for example, right, this state requires a different way of doing taxes as compared to some other state, right? Now, obviously, you can keep adding these to prompt and a bunch of things, but a lot of things are shaped by experience, right? Someone who has 20 years of experience, his first thought would be, okay, I should start looking at it as from a legal point of lens, right? So I think it is still some time before this middle layer is, I would say, removed. So I think it would be around 3 to 5 years at least. But the lower layer, I think, can be completely removed. Like we are doing some of the work with companies where we have completely removed their one layer of folks, right, in one specific vertical. So we essentially, if you have heard of uh, this thing called Hermes agent or OpenClaw, for example, right?
Yeah.
What they essentially do is, as soon as they get some sort of signal, they start working, right? So we have also created some triggers which automatically triggers our platform. It does the complete work, and this is all overnight. So by the time they wake up, most of the issues that they were going to face in the morning would have already been resolved by then.
Got it. That's pretty cool. And how do you price? I mean, for the dispute for the interface part of it, right? You spoke about outcome-based pricing.
Yeah.
Here it looks more geared towards outcome-based pricing. You're able to create value, you can charge for it. But I really want to understand from your perspective, how do you price your customers?
Yeah, so actually there are two, three different pricing models. We are still figuring out which one works best. But one of them is how complex is your ERP structure as of today, right? Because the more complex your ERP structure is, the agent needs to reason more, needs to traverse more into the ERP structure, figure out different pain points, right? So, it, so one of the pricing models is obviously this. Second is something that we are still trying out, which is ticket-based pricing. So, number of tickets that we solve will charge per ticket based, but we ideally don't want to move towards this because again we are in, like, if you think of it in interface terms, we are reducing the number of tickets by ourselves, right? We are self-healing the system. So after one point, the tickets volume would start reducing. So that is basically killing our own revenue of sorts. But we are still figuring out pricing what works best. Again, if you go with enterprise customers, you'll there's no fixed pricing that you can think of, right? Like I cannot price, okay, let's say I charge customer X this, I cannot charge customer Y proportionately, right? Because even if you look at most SaaS pages, pricing pages, everyone says contact us, right? Because it's very custom to their requirement. So yeah.
No, man, makes a lot of sense as well. Thank you for this. Guys, Aditya is a CTO. If anyone has, proper good tech question, I don't think we did a tech question at all. Go for it, right? This is the time.
Right. So we use a combination of closed source LLMs, right? So as of now, we haven't adopted open source, but I think we'll probably do that. The reason why we haven't done open source is because they're not very well regulated, right? Because end of the day, you need to take ownership of anything that happens on the customer's environment, right? So as of now, it's mostly a combination of, let's say, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, for example. We haven't done our own LLM because I think models are going to keep getting better. It's better to just uh, like wait for them to keep getting better than trying to fine tune or do a lot of these things. There's this concept called as thick skill, thin harness, which is basically write a lot of these things in natural language prompts in skill markdown files and keep your harness, AI harness, as thin as possible. Because the next time the model upgrades, you'll probably need to remove some of the harness. So that's much better than it's much easier to remove natural language prompts than harness primitives, right? But yeah.
Guys, any other questions? I think we have 5 more minutes and just want to wrap it up soon. But before that, if you have any questions, this is the time. So go for it.
Hey, Aditya, I actually had one question.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, go for it.
So, yeah, so actually, even when you must be working on your own product, you must have a lot of ideas. Ki, we can do this, we can also do this, and why are we not doing this also? But the good thing about that I loved in your pitch was you selected a niche, right? So even in that, how do you select what not to do among the hundred of things that you can do?
Okay. I'd say there are multiple ways to approach this. So a lot of like if you look at startups as a concept, right? They're basically experiments. End of the day, one experiment might work for you, some might not, right? So initially, when you raise your first round, you're basically betting on one single experiment. But it is completely fine that okay, this does not make sense, or I'm not able to get traction on that. You can pivot to something else that you feel might get you traction, right? So, for example, when we started with interface, we were basically selling browser agents that can do anything because I had done some research in browser agents, right? So we were saying that we'll do anything. But as we did more customer discoveries, the more we talked to D2C brands, we realized that, okay, this is something that's sort of much more painful to them. So we basically pivoted saying that, okay, we'll just do this specific niche and we'll leave everything else. And then once we started doing that, right, like if you just go talk to any D2C brand, right, why wouldn't they want to save money, right? They definitely want to recover the money that they have lost. So that become a very easy sell. At that point, once we started doing GTM for that, right, we realized that the conversion rates were very like high as compared to like normal browser agents that we were selling. So we just pivoted to that, saying that okay, this is something that we'll do. We'll leave everything else, and that's how we made that decision.
Thank you. Sounds like customer feedback is the key.
Yeah. So end of the day, everything is customers, right? Like you can talk about a lot of VC funding and a bunch of different things, but if you're not true to your customers, I don't think things will work out. That's something that we have kept at our core. Like customer is the truth. Everything else is just noise.
Okay, Pramit has a second question. They want to take that?
Yeah, I'm just reading. Okay. So, yeah, I think this is a very relevant question given that, uh, I mean, Claude is coming with co-work. It's automating a lot of different things that a lot of companies or startups used to do, right? What I think, they won't be able to do. I mean, they've already started doing. So if you look at OpenAI deployment company, right, they are basically saying that I'll go to any enterprise and I'll help you solve any problem that you have with AI. And they have hired a bunch of forward deployed engineers as well for that. But I think if you actually want to build something that will last, I think you should focus on a very vertical focused thing, right? Vertical as in I'm just focusing on, let's say, ERP, for example. Even in that, I'll probably just focus on SAP. Now, this becomes very hard for a model company to sort of try to just do this, right? Because end of the day, the audience that uses those models, for example, is very wide. Uh, it makes no sense for them to just specifically train on these specific use cases, right? So I think the more vertical, the more niche that you go, in which you can sort of find a problem and help solve it. Uh, I think that would be a much better way than just going horizontal, saying that I'll just do like a broad uh, things of sorts, right? I think that can be commoditized very, very soon compared to something that's vertical. And end of the day, I think uh, data is the key, right? So one entering these customers, for example, right, Fortune 500s, for example, for the very specific use cases that we are solving is quite hard, right? Like it takes months to just close one single sale because you have to do a lot of back and forth. You have to build trust, right? That is not something AI can do, right? The model companies, I think they'll probably not do this mostly because again, they need a lot of forward deployed engineers and a bunch of different combinations just to make sure that this vertical niche is sort of like something that can be scaled and scalable for them. So I think that's what I would say.
Yep, awesome. Cool. So this was the case, and then I think we're almost there, like at the very end. So just wanted to ask you, Aditya, what's the scene with you? Are you guys looking to hire BITSians, or what's the scene like? Do you have openings? And if there are, how do we actually? How do folks actually get in touch with you? Um, just wanted to know that, right?
Right. So we currently have openings for forward deployed engineers. As I said, as the customer base keeps growing, we always need to add more forward deployed engineers. For that, I think we mostly look for two skills. One, you need to be good at development. That's like given. Second, you need to have good speaking skills as well, right? Because again, you will be in front of Fortune 500 clients, right? There you can't like have someone who can't speak for more than 5 minutes, right? So that is one thing. The process by which we hire. So one of our founding engineers made this website called CC Warriors. I'll probably drop it in the chat. If you can outrank me or him, you get a direct interview. That's how we hire. So I am second right now. You can see the cryogenic. That's number one second. That's me. If you can outrank me, obviously without AI slop, you just don't just run a model that keeps running. You just keep accumulating token. Obviously build something that's useful. And once you have done that, you can have a direct interview with us.
Awesome, awesome. This is great. This is great. And this was more about folks who are excited to work with you, Aditya. On the other side, we have a bunch of folks. So this group actually started for indie hackers, right? Yeah, I understand what you mentioned. We probably dream smaller as Indians, but the group in itself, the idea was, can you actually break away from your normal 9 to 5, indie hack your way to freedom, and can you start thinking, large? Just wanted to know from your perspective, right? Both for indie hackers as well as for entrepreneurs, what do you think should be the thought process? Any advice that you have for these folks?
I mean, yeah, I think what works best for you is something that you should do. Not everyone should be an entrepreneur. Not everyone should build a venture-backed company. They are very different things. Building a good business is very different than building a good venture-backed company, right? Those are two very different things. Obviously, indie hacking is also, uh, I think, something that I would have done if I had not gone this entrepreneur route. But I think for me, as of now, I like building teams. I like having people involved. I actually want to build a very large company. So venture backing was very essential for me. But Yeah, I think end of the day, just do customer discoveries, figure out what your customer is facing as a key problem, right? Again, as I said, everything else is noise. Whatever the customer says is the truth, right? Just pursue that, follow that. I think you'll eventually, I mean, it takes some time. You'll go through multiple iterations. That is perfectly normal in the early stages. Like we have also crashed at least 30 to 40 projects, right? 40 repositories written with code, right? Properly written. And then we have landed on something. So iteration is very essential and key in the early stages. Don't give up, I think, during that. Just keep at it. If that's where your heart and soul right, you should actually pursue that, is my opinion at least.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this, Aditya. And one last thing, perhaps, it was amazing to have you today. If you were to recommend, let's say, two folks who you think should come and speak here, who would they be? So that we can just reach out to them and bring them over. What do you think? I mean,
Okay.
BITS obviously would be fantastic.
Okay. Actually, 3 of my wingies are entrepreneurs. So I think, have you had a chance to talk with Saksham, Cardboard YC?
No, I think, George, we wanted to reach out, right? We didn't reach out to them.
Okay. He's one of my wingies. Second, you can talk to Rushant Ashtutre. He's also one of my wingies. He previously built Dunlin AI. Right now, he's building something else. So he also came to SF with me. He got a bunch of customers there. So he's also doing a lot of things. These are two folks I would recommend. If you want more, there's Adarsh Bharadwaj, who is another wingy of mine. He was building something in the VR space, right? So very different than everyone else, right? So you can probably talk to him if you are interested in gaming and VR.
Got it. Quite an inspiring wing you've got there. So,
yeah.
So, anyways, Aitha, thank you so much for this, and it was a very insightful talk. What we'll do is we'll post it across social media as well, so that more Bitsians can. We had a small crowd who could join and ask questions. We want a lot more Bitsians to hear this, so we'll share it across. And thank you so much for your time as well, right? And guys, if you have to reach out to Aditya, what's the best way to reach out to you? How do they get in touch?
I think if you have my BITS mail, that would be great. Otherwise, you can just ping me on LinkedIn.
Got it. Can you drop your BITS mail here?
I can drop it. I'll actually have to find it. I have forgotten.
Then I think LinkedIn's the best. If you don't even know.
I just sign in some days. I still keep getting emails from like the dean or like some random emails.
Sure. No worries, man. You can just drop it in the group that we have, right? I'll make sure that we send it over to the larger WhatsApp group.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aditya. You have a great day. Thanks, guys, for joining on a Sunday. I hope you have a great rest of the Sunday as well.
Okay. Thanks, Akash.
Thank you. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.